President Mnangagwa will not go beyond 2028, says Mutsvangwa. What this means for Zimbabwe.
In a dramatic intervention that has sent ripples through Harare's political salons and military mess halls alike, ZANU-PF spokesperson Christopher Mutsvangwa has publicly insisted that President Emerson
Mnangagwa will not remain in office beyond 2028, a declaration that appears aimed at calming party nerves even as rival factions continue to push a controversial plan to extend his rule.
The statement comes amid fevered debate inside the ruling party over a resolution first floated in Bulawayo and later at the party's conferences, a campaign to amend term limits so the president
could, in theory, stay on until 2030. But Mutsvangwa's remarks mark a notable attempt from within ZANU-PF to put a lid on those ambitions and reassure nervous observers that constitutional limits won't
be respected. To understand why Mutsvangwa's words matter, you must appreciate the fault lines running through Zimbabwean politics. ZANU-PF is no ordinary party. It is a coalition of liberation era veterans, business patrons, provincial power brokers, and security chiefs. In recent months, calls for continuity beyond 2028 have come from some provincial structures and party loyalists who argue that the president needs more time to complete flagship projects. Those voices were given institutional oxygen after the party's conference adopted a resolution in some quarters that seemed to favor an extension to 2030. The move set off alarm bells inside the party and beyond, sparking heated debate about legality, legitimacy, and the consequences for Zimbabwe's fragile economy. International news agencies reported the party resolution and the ensuing controversy. Mutsvangwa's intervention is both tactical and symbolic. As a senior party mouthpiece with deep roots in the ZANU-PF establishment, his public assertion that the president had said that he will not go beyond 2028 was delivered with the aim of cooling tempers and reclaiming the narrative from the faction that wants to extend Mnangagwa's stay. That faction argues continuity is necessary for economic recovery and national projects. Opponents say any attempt to tinker with term limits would be unconstitutional and dangerously divisive. The spokesperson's comments were reported widely in Zimbabwean media and amplified across social platforms, signaling that the presidency, or at least powerful figures speaking for it, wants to draw a firm line under the extension debate. But the paradox is plain. Even as Mutsvangwa insists on a 2028 departure, the machinery that produced the 2030 resolution has not been fully dismantled. Provincial rallies and party gatherings in some areas continued to vocalize support for keeping Mnangagwa in power longer, exposing deep fissures between local structures and the central command. That disconnect reveals a party that is publicly united in rhetoric but privately fractured in ambition. Party elders and legal experts point out that any attempt to extend a sitting president's term would not be straightforward. Constitutional change would likely require parliamentary majorities, complex legislative steps, and possibly referendums, and could provoke legal challenges, mass protests, or international censure. The stakes are therefore enormous. For ordinary Zimbabweans, this high-level wrangling matters badly. The country is still wrestling with runaway inflation, currency volatility, and chronic shortages of fuel and electricity. Investors, already worry after years of sanctions and policy inconsistency, will be further spooked by any sign of constitutional tampering. Economists warn that political uncertainty is the surest way to frighten off the investment needed to stabilize the economy. In short, while party elites argue about succession timetables and political legacies, it is families lining up for bread and small business owners who face the immediate fallout. Several expert commentaries and local analysts quoted in recent reporting underline that political instability will have direct economic costs. The succession dance is also personal and partisan. Behind closed doors, two powerful figures loom large: President Mnangagwa himself and Vice President Constantino Chiwenga. Their 2017 alliance, forged in the dramatic ousting of Robert Mugabe, has long given way to rivalry and mutual suspicion. Chawinga commands deep loyalty inside the security services and among certain provincial bases. Mnangagwa relies on civilian networks, business patrons, and international linkages. Any perceived effort to change constitutional dates risks provoking that fragile balance. A move to extend the presidency could be read by Chawinga's camp as an attempt to preempt his ambitions, while a decision to step down could invite sudden jockeying for patronage and position. The internal dynamics are both intricate and combustible. Mutsvangwa's message that Mnangagwa will abide by the constitution serves another purpose. It provides cover for the presidency, while the party figures out a face-saving route forward. If the party wants to keep elements of the continuity argument alive without directly breaking the law, it can encourage a 2027 Congress to select a successor who pledges to protect Mnangagwa's legacy and the interests of key backers. That would allow for continuity without a direct legal amendment, and Mutsvangwa's statement helps prepare the public for such a negotiated transfer. But it is a gambit that depends entirely on discipline inside ZANU-PF, something observers increasingly doubt exists across the board. Regional and international actors are watching closely. Southern African neighbors and bodies like SAD have historically been quick to intervene rhetorically when Zimbabwe appears to drift toward constitutional manipulation or instability. Western governments, already sensitive to human rights and governance concerns, will also be alert. A constitutional crisis or an attempt to extend a presidency by fight could invite diplomatic condemnation, targeted sanctions, or a chill in foreign investment and aid. In short, the local debate has global consequences, which is why Mutsvangwa's reassurance is as much a diplomatic signal as a domestic one. Naturally, not everyone is convinced. Critics from the opposition and civil society view the 2028 assurance with skepticism, recalling past moments when official promises were quietly overturned. They point to the party's past willingness to reshape rules in its own interest and warn that even a seemingly firm commitment can be undermined by legal slates, emergency proclamations, or manufactured political consensus. Civic groups have called for clarity, not spin, and many urge for independent safeguards, transparent timelines, judicial oversight, and international guarantees that the Constitution will be respected. The tenor of public commentary suggests that trust is in short supply. So where does all this leave Zimbabwe? Mutsvangwa's declaration is significant because it signals the presidency's preferred public line. Mnangagwa will not extend his rule beyond 2028. But the underlying reality is more ambiguous. A party that simultaneously debates a 2030 resolution and publishes a spokesperson insisting on 2028 reveals a political system negotiating not only succession date but the distribution of power, influence, and impunity that follows those dates. Whether this internal negotiation yields a peaceful, constitutional outcome or morphs into a bitter struggle with dangerous spillovers is the central question facing Zimbabwe's citizens and its neighbors. For now, the practical takeaway is simple. Watch the signals. Who is promoted inside the security services, which provincial leaders gain or lose influence, what the 2027 Congress produces, and whether legal clarifications are sought and published. If Mutsvangwa's words are matched by procedural steps that ensure a transparent and constitutional transition, his statement may become the first line in a history of a smooth transfer. If not, the 2028 deadline could become the flashpoint for a far nastier confrontation, and history will judge whether those who promised constitutional fidelity were sincere, pragmatic, or merely managing optics. In the end, Mutsvangwa's pronouncement is a reminder that Zimbabwe's politics is theater and tug-of-war in equal measure. Promises are made in public, maneuvers are plotted in private, and the consequences fall hardest on a population long overdue for stability and prosperity.